The San Diego sun beat down on the asphalt as I entered Commander Peterson's office. The insignia on my U.S. Navy dress uniform reflected the light streaming through the large windows. Lieutenant Lauren Matthews, 28, a counterterrorism security and explosives detection specialist. 6 years of service, 2 decorations, and an entire military family to honor. I straightened my posture and knocked on the door. "Come in, Lieutenant." Commander Peterson was a man of few words and many scars. 30 years in the Navy had carved his face into severe lines, like a topographical map of every mission he'd faced. "Have a seat." He gestured to the chair across from him. "We've received information about a possible terrorist threat at San Diego's Central Terminal. The FBI is taking the lead, but they've requested our specialized team. You'll lead the operation on the Navy side." I felt my heart race. It was my first solo mission as a team leader. "When, sir?" "Tomorrow, 06:00. Prepare your team. Today, full briefing in an hour." Dismissed. I saluted and left, my mind already formulating the operational plan. I had to notify my team: Rodriguez, explosives specialist; Carter, communications; and Spencer, our rookie with only 2 years of service, but a natural talent for pattern recognition. As I walked down the hallway of the naval base, I couldn't help but think of my father, Captain William Matthews, legendary in the Navy's Special Forces, now retired after 35 years of service. The man who taught me everything about discipline and duty, but who never fully accepted my choice to pursue a career in counterterrorism security instead of the combat operations that made him a legend. "Safety's defense." "The Matthews attack," he would say, with that look of disappointment I knew so well. My phone vibrated. Speak of the devil. It was a message from him. "Shall we have dinner tonight?" "I'm in town for a lecture at the academy. 7 p.m. at Murphy's." I answered with a quick yes. I didn't mention tomorrow's operation. Dad always questioned my missions, always pointed out how he would have done things differently, always made me feel ... inadequate. The briefing was intense. The threat was credible. Intercepted chatter indicated a possible attack at the train station during rush hour, coinciding with the arrival of an international diplomat. Our mission was to sweep the area, establish a secure perimeter, and monitor any suspicious activity. We worked alongside local police, the FBI, and the station's private security. My team was sharp, asking the right questions and offering valuable insight. Except Spencer. "Spencer, are you okay? You seem distant," I asked when the briefing ended. "I'm fine, Lieutenant. Just ... This is my first operations caliber. Mine too, as a leader. Let's do this together, okay?" I tried to sound confident, but the truth is, I also felt the weight of responsibility. Murphy's was an Irish pub frequented by military personnel just a few blocks from the base. I walked in at 7:05 p.m., already dressed in civilian clothes, jeans, a white t-shirt, and a leather jacket. My dad was already there, drinking a Guinness and chatting with some old friends. William Matthews was a present. Even at 65, he maintained the straight posture and broad shoulders of his active duty days. His gray hair was cut in the same military style he'd worn for decades. When he saw me, he flashed that smile he rarely showed in public. "Lauren, come meet some friends." For 20 minutes, I listened to war stories and watched my father introduce me as my daughter, a Navy lieutenant, without ever mentioning my specialty. When we finally got a table for dinner, he immediately ordered 2 steaks. "How's work going?" he asked, cutting the meat. "Well, I'm leading more operations." "What kind of operations? Still in that security squad?" I sighed internally. "Yes, Dad. Counterterrorism Prevention and Response Unit. I'm leading my first solo operation tomorrow, actually." He chewed slowly. That assessing look that made me feel like I was 12 years old again in shooting range, missing the target. "What kind of operation?" I hesitated. "I can't give detail. It's a preventive scan. Sweeping." He repeated the word as if it were derogatory. "You know, when I was your age, I was leading extraction operations in hostile territory. Not doing sweeps." I took a deep breath. "Every role has its value, Dad." "Sure." "Sure." He took a sip of beer. "But you have potential for more, Lauren. I always have. Remember when you outclassed all the boys at youth boot camp?" I thought, this girl is going to lead missions that will make mine look like walks in the park. I'm saving lives. Dad, preventing attacks before they happen. He shook his head. "You're on defense. always on defense. Then, as if delivering the final verdict, "You're on the bench, Lauren. For all your talent, you're watching the game from the sideline." The words burned more than they should have. After all, I was an adult, a decorated officer, but his approval still meant something I couldn't shake. The rest of dinner was spent talking about his stories of past missions. I didn't mention my work again. By 5 o'clock the next day, I was completely focused. My equipment triple-checked, communications tested, and the plan revised. I met my team at the rendezvous, all with serious expressions that matched the still dark sky. "Good morning, team. Let's review this one last time." Rodriguez adjusted his bulletproof vest. "I've got the portable detectors calibrated, and Whiskey is ready." Whiskey was our explosive-sniffing dog, a German shepherd with more field experience than most of us. Carter checked his communications equipment. Secure frequencies established. We're in sync with all agencies on the ground. Spencer seemed better today, more focused. Surveillance systems accessed. I have view of all station cameras. Good. Remember, this is a preventative operation. The goal is to ensure nothing happens. We'll get into position and establish the perimeter before the station fully opens. I looked at each of them in turn. Any questions? Nobody said anything. Then let's go. San Diego Central Station was quiet at 6 o'clock, with only a few employees and the day's first passengers. Our discreet arrival in unmarked vehicles didn't attract much attention. We met FBI Special Agent Ramirez at the side entrance. "Lieutenant Matthews," he extended his hand. "Thank you for coming. We have the updated floor plan and a list of all personnel on duty today. Police are already positioned at the main entrances." "What is our designated area?" "Platforms 3 to 7, where the train with the diplomatic delegation will arrive. We need a full sweep before 0900. We nodded and split up as planned. Rodriguez and Whiskey began their sweep methodically, while Carter set up our mobile command post in a security room. Spencer and I roamed the platforms, checking for any anomalies. That's when my phone vibrated. A text message. "I'm in town. Came to watch my daughter work. North Parking." My father. My heart froze. What was he doing here? "Spencer, continue the sweep. I need to check something in the north parking." "Yes, ma'am." I found my father leaning against his arms crossed and that smile of someone who knows something you don't. "Dad, what are you doing here?" "This is an active operation. I came to see what a sweep is like." He looked around. "It looks pretty quiet for an operation. This is how it should be." "Dad, you need to leave, please." He raised his hands in surrender, but without losing his smile. "I just wanted to see you in action. Maybe learn something new from the next generation." I recognized the sarcasm in his voice. "Dad, this is serious. We have credible information about a possible threat. And what are you doing about it?" "Walking around the station, waiting. For something to happen?" I felt my face heat up. "We're following established protocols based on years of operational experience and protocols." He snorted. "You know what we did when we received information about threats? We went after them. Actively." My radio crackled. "Lieutenant Matthew, we've found something suspicious on Platform 5. I need you to come check it out." It was Rodriguez's voice. I gave my father a stern look. "I have to go. Please get out of here." He raised his hands. "Again, go do your job, Lieutenant." I ran back into the station. Rodriguez and Whiskey were standing near a bench on Platform 5, the dog sitting rigidly, the signal it gave when it detected something. "What do we have?" "Whiskey tested positive in this backpack." Rodriguez pointed to a plain black backpack left under the bench. "No one has claimed it in the last 10 minutes we've been watching." My training took over. "Carter, I need a 50-meter perimeter around Platform 5. Spencer, access the cameras and see if you can identify who left the backpack." "Rodriguez, let's do an initial assessment." I grabbed my portable detector and began scanning the backpack without touching it. The device emitted a soft indicating the presence of elements that could be used in explosives, positive for nitro compounds. I looked at Rodriguez. "Let's evacuate the platform and call the EOD team." Just then, I saw my father calmly walking across the platform, observing everything with clinical interest. I wanted to yell at him, but I maintained my professional composure. "Evacuation underway," Lieutenant Carter radioed back. "EOD team en route." "ETA, 7 minutes, Spencer added. I began coordinating the evacuation with local police, keeping an eye on the suspicious backpack. That's when I noticed something strange about Whiskey's behavior. The dog, normally focused when marking, seemed ... confused. He looked at the backpack and then away, as if trying to tell us something else. Rodriguez, is Whiskey acting normal? Rodriguez looked at the dog. Not exactly. He tested positive, but now he seems to want to move. Let him follow his instinct. Rodriguez let go of the leash a bit, and Whiskey immediately began sniffing toward another area of the platform, away from the backpack. I followed the dog, aware of my father watching from afar, probably judging my every move. Whiskey stopped near a dumpster and sat down again, staring at it. Carter, I need another perimeter. Here, I used my detector again, positive, but with a much stronger reading than the backpack. That's when it hit me. It's a distraction. I looked at the abandoned backpack and then at the trash can. The backpack is a distraction. My father appeared beside me. The old decoy trick. Classic. Dad, you need to get out of here now. And leaving you alone with 2 potential bombs? No way. There was no time to argue. Rodriguez, keep the perimeter in the backpack. I'll check the trash can with Whiskey. Just then, my radio crackled again. It was Spencer. Lieutenant! The cameras show a man leaving a package in the 2nd floor restroom area. And he's leaving the station now? 3 threats. It was a coordinated attack. Carter, I need you to take command here. Hold the perimeters and coordinate with the EOD team when they arrive. Spencer, send the suspect's description to all units and continue monitoring the cameras. Rodriguez, you and Whiskey stay with the backpack. I'll check the 2nd floor. And me? My father asked. You're getting out of here. Lauren, I've spent more time disarming explosives than you've been alive. I'm going with you. There was no time to argue. Stay behind me and do exactly what I say. We ran for the stairs, avoiding the elevators as per protocol. The 2nd floor was partially evacuated, but there were still confused civilians. I began directing people toward the emergency exits while we searched for the restroom. There, my father pointed to a sign. The men's room was empty. We quickly checked each stall until we found what we were looking for. A plain paper bag propped up behind a toilet. I approached cautiously, using the detector. The reading was immediate and strong. Positive for TATP, I said, referring to acetone peroxide, an unstable explosive favored by terrorists. Handmade. Then, my father commented, keeping his distance. We need to check if it has a timer or a remote detonator. Without touching the bag, I used a small endoscopic camera from my kit to look inside. I saw wires connected to a cell phone. Cell phone detonator. If anyone calls this number ... double, quotes my father nodded. We need a signal inhibitor immediately. Carter, I said into the radio. We need a signal jammer on the 2nd floor. Men's restroom. Urgent. The EOD team just arrived. They're sending a technician with the equipment for you. How long? 2 minutes. I looked at my father. We have to hold the perimeter until 2 minutes might be too late, he interrupted. If they realize we found the devices, they can detonate them remotely at any time. He was right, but the protocol was clear. We need to wait for the specialized team. Lauren, my father looked me straight in the eye. This is a field decision. Protocol doesn't call for 3 coordinated devices. If one of them detonates, the others will also be triggered. We need to neutralize them now. I felt the weight of the decision. Follow protocol or trust instinct and experience, both mine and my father's. Do you know how to disarm this? I asked. I've seen dozens of these. It's basically separating the detonator from the main charge without triggering any secondary mechanism. I took a deep breath. Okay, let's do this. But we follow basic safety procedure. My father smiled. As you wish, Commander. Slowly, we approached the bag. I used the camera again to get a better look inside while my dad studied the setup. I see the cell phone, connected to a simple detonator device. The main charge is separated by a single wire. If we cut the correct wire ... which thread? I asked. Red connected to the positive of the battery. If we cut this one, the circuit breaks. I grabbed my multi-tool and prepared to cut. My hands were shaking slightly. My dad noticed. Breathe. You can do this. I took a deep breath, steadied my hand, and cut the wire. Nothing happened. Device neutralized, I announced over the radio. I repeat, 2nd floor device neutralized. We still need the EOD team for safe removal. Understood, Lieutenant. The team is moving up. Carter replied. I looked at my father, who had a small smile. Good job, Lieutenant. It was the first time I'd seen genuine pride in his eyes since joining the Navy. My radio crackled again. Lieutenant, the EOD team has neutralized the device in the dumpster. The backpack was a fake, just materials that would give a positive reading on the detector, and the suspect? Police stopped him at the west exit. It appears there were 2 more accomplices, but they fled when we began the evacuation. Keep the perimeter expanded. There may be more devices. Yes, ma'am. I looked at my father. We need to check the station's outer perimeter. The accomplices may have planted more devices as backup. He nodded. Good call. Let's go. Over the next few hours, we coordinated a thorough sweep of the station and surrounding areas. No other devices were found. The 3 suspects were captured, and preliminary investigations confirmed links to a known terrorist cell. When we finally declared the area safe, it was already past 1500 hours. We were all exhausted but satisfied. No lives lost, no threat neutralized. The FBI team took over the formal investigation, and our team began demobilizing. I found my father waiting patiently near our mobile command post. Ready to go? He asked. Almost. I just need to debrief with my team. I gathered Rodriguez, Carter, and Spencer. Excellent work today, team. Each of you played your role perfectly. Spencer, your quick identification of the 3rd suspect was crucial. Rodriguez, you and Whiskey were impeccable in the detection. Carter, your coordination of communications kept everything running smoothly. And you, Lieutenant, Spencer said, led like you'd been doing it your whole life. I smiled. Thank you. Full reports by tomorrow, 9 o'clock. Now go rest. When we were alone, my father approached. You know, I never really understood what you did until today, he said. And what do I do, in your opinion? You save lives. He put his hands on my shoulders. And you do it in a way I never could. I've always been on the front lines, attacking. You, double, quotes, he hesitated, searching for words. You see the whole field, all the possibilities. You see things I wouldn't. I felt a lump in my throat. Thank you, Dad. Sorry for saying you were on the bench. You're not. You're playing a completely different game. And you're good at it, I swallowed, fighting back the tears that threatened to fall. So, how about we have dinner again tonight? This time, it's on me. Deal, he smiled. And maybe you can tell me more about this sweeping work you do. 3 weeks later, I received the news that I would be honored for the operation at the station. Not just me, but my entire team. The ceremony would be small, with only the base's top brass and close family members in attendance. I sent my father an invitation without much expectation. He rarely attended official events since retiring. On the day of the ceremony, I wore my full dress uniform, every medal and insignia polished to a shine. My team was equally impeccable. We entered the base auditorium and took our seat. As Commander Peterson began his speech about courage and excellence in the line of duty, I saw my father enter discreetly through the side door. He, too, was wearing his full dress uniform, something I hadn't seen since his retirement ceremony. All of his medals, and there were many, reflected the light in the auditorium. Our eyes met, and he did something I will never forget. He saluted with genuine respect in his eyes. At the end of the ceremony, he approached me with a small case in his hand. What is this? I asked. Something I've wanted to give you for a long time. I opened the case and found an old naval insignia, polished and perfect. This was my first decoration for courage in combat, he explained. Now, it's yours. Father, I can't accept it. It's not an official award. It's a gift from one naval officer to another. He smiled. From one Matthew to another Matthew. A family tradition. I hugged him tightly, not caring about the formality of the environment. Thank you, Dad. No, Lauren, thank you for showing me that there are many ways to serve, to lead, to make a difference. He pulled back slightly to look me in the eye, and that they all matter. In that moment, I finally understood that I wasn't trying to follow in my father's footsteps. I was creating my own path, as valid and important as his. And more important, he finally understood this too. Life went on after that day. I continued leading security operations with increasing responsibility. My father began calling me regularly to talk about work, strategy, and life, not as a superior speaking to a subordinate, but as 2 professionals who respect each other's perspectives. 6 months after the station operation, I was promoted to lieutenant commander and transferred to lead the Navy's counterterrorism training unit in Virginia. My father showed up at my door on move-in day, suitcases in hand. "What is this?" I asked, confused. "Well, I thought I'd pay you a visit in Virginia. Maybe help establish the new training program." He smiled. "If you'll have me as a consultant, of course." "Seriously? You want to work with me?" Lauren, that day at the station, I realized something I should have realized years ago. You're not just good at what you do, you're exceptional. And I have a lot to learn from you. I smiled, feeling a wave of emotion I couldn't completely control. "So, what do you say?" he asked. "Father-daughter partnership? I think I can make room for a tenacious, experienced consultant on my team." We laughed together, and I realized we had finally found our balance. It wasn't about being on the bench or on the field anymore. It was about recognizing that every position in the game has its value, its importance, and most importantly, I finally understood that I was never really on the bench. I was just playing a different position on the same team, a position equally vital to victory. Today, 3 years later, I lead one of the most respected counterterrorism units in the United States Navy. My father still works with me as a special advisor, though now I'm the one who frequently reminds him of updated protocols and best practices. Sometimes, when we're training new recruits, I tell the story of that day at the train station. I tell them about the sniffer dog that sat next to my bag, about the decision to check the perimeter when everyone else was focused only on the obvious target. And I always end with the same lesson. In security, there are no bench positions. Every role, every watchful eye, every procedure followed correctly is part of the front line, because the real front line is wherever you are when the threat appears. When I say this, I always find my father's eyes at the back of the room, nodding in silent agreement, and I feel that quiet pride that took me so long to recognize, but which is now a fundamental part of who I am, not just as a Navy officer, but as a daughter, as a leader, as a person. We're no longer playing different games. We're playing the same game, just with complementary strategies, and that makes all the difference. My transfer to Virginia marked the beginning of a new phase. Norfolk Naval Base was a different world from San Diego. The climate was colder. The Atlantic replaced the Pacific, and I had much greater responsibilities on my shoulders. As Lieutenant Commander Matthews, my mission was to restructure the East Coast's counterterrorism training program. The San Diego train station incident had revealed flaws in standard protocol, especially in situations involving multiple devices and coordinated distraction. Now, it was up to me to ensure that no other team faced that kind of situation unprepared. My father and I settled into a small house 20 minutes from the base. It felt strange sharing a space with him after so many years of living apart, but we quickly developed a comfortable routine. He occupied the guest room, which he converted into a mini office filled with old books on military tactics and newspaper clippings. Every morning, he would brew strong coffee while I went for a run on the beach, regardless of the weather. "The sea is rough today," he commented, one particularly windy morning when I returned, soaked from rain and surf spray. "I like it like this." I took the mug he offered me. "It reminds me that not everything can be controlled. Good for keeping one humble." He smiled. "You always had that wisdom. You take after your mother." I rarely mentioned my mother, who died when I was only 12. Commander Elizabeth Matthews had been one of the first women to serve on nuclear submarines, a pioneer respected and feared in equal measure, known for her tactical intelligence and impeccable precision. Cancer took her too quickly, leaving a void that not all my father's military discipline could fill. "She would have loved to see you now," he continued, surprising me, leading, making a difference. I swallowed, unable to respond. My father was never one to openly display emotions, and that moment of vulnerability was too precious to be shattered with inappropriate words. At the base, I faced resistance from day one. Captain Hargrove, the director of Special Operations and my immediate superior, made no secret of his skepticism about my approach. "Lieutenant Commander," he said at our first meeting, without even looking up from the papers on his desk, "I hope you understand that Norfolk Academy has traditions and methods established for decades. We are not particularly interested in West Coast experiments." "I understand, sir." I'm not here to reinvent the wheel, just to add a few spokes that might make it stronger. He finally looked up, his pale blue eyes studying me coldly. Beautiful metaphor. But here we value less words and more concrete results. Then we are perfectly aligned, Captain. The results will speak for themselves. This was just the first of many tense conversations. Hargrove represented the old guard, men who grew up in a different nation, where women in command positions were still the exception, not the rule. He had served with my father decades ago and seemed unable to see me beyond the shadow of the legendary Captain Matthews. Ironically, it was my own father who gave me the best advice on how to deal with this. Hargrove has always been a better strategist than a tactician, he commented when I confided in him about the situation. He sees the big picture, but often misses the crucial details. Show him you've mastered both, and he'll have no choice but to respect you. My first opportunity came when I proposed a complete overhaul of multiple threat detection and neutralization training. The traditional approach treated each threat as a single incident, effective for simple operations, but dangerously inadequate for coordinated attacks like the one in San Diego. The terrorists are studying our protocols, I explained during the presentation to the senior training team. They know we focus on the first device we find, so they use it as a distraction. We need to train our teams to always think about the big picture. Lieutenant Commander Rivera, a veteran of the explosives unit, crossed his arms defensively. Are you suggesting we abandon decades-old, tried-and-true procedures? No, sir. I'm suggesting we expand them. We'll keep all the existing protocols, but we'll add a new component: pattern and intent analysis. Intention analysis? Hargrove interrupted, his tone disbelieving. That sounds like work for psychologists, not field operators. With all due respect, Captain, understanding the adversary's intentions has always been fundamental in warfare. The difference is that now we are systematically applying this to the fight against terrorism. My father, sitting discreetly in the back of the room as a guest consultant, remained silent, but I could tell he was closely observing each person's reaction. And how exactly do we implement this in training? Asked Commander Patel, the only other woman in the room, a tactical intelligence specialist, with realistic simulations of multiple scenarios. Pattern recognition training. Introducing unexpected variables during standard exercises. I moved on to the next slide of the presentation, and most importantly, teaching operators to question the obvious. The ensuing debate was intense, with opinions divided. Some younger instructors showed immediate enthusiasm, while veterans remained skeptical. Hargrove, as expected, was the hardest to convince. Lieutenant Commander Matthew, your ideas are ... interesting, but we need more than theories. If you want to implement this program, I need to see practical results. How much time do I have, sir? 3 weeks. Put together a demonstration with the next class of cadets. If it works, we'll consider incorporating elements into the regular curriculum. It wasn't what I expected, but it was a start. Thank you for the opportunity, sir. When the meeting ended, my father approached with a small smile. 3 weeks isn't a long time. It's more than enough, I replied, already formulating plans. He's testing you. No, Hargrove has always been a fair man. Despite his ... quirks, if you show him value, he'll recognize it. What if I don't recognize it? My father shrugged. Then you'll find another way. Matthews never backed down from obstacles, remember? The next 3 weeks were a whirlwind of activity. I personally selected 20 third-year cadets, neither too new to grasp the concepts, nor too veteran to be stuck in the old ways. Among them was Midshipman Diana Chun, a young Taiwanese-American with exceptional grades and a remarkable sense of strategy. Why did you choose us, Commander? Chun asked on the first day of training. None of us are on the counterterrorism specialization track. Exactly for that reason. I want minds not conditioned by existing paradigm. My program was intense and unorthodox. We began each day with case studies of real terrorist attacks, analyzing not only what happened, but what could have been done differently. Then we moved on to practical exercises that simulated increasingly complex scenarios. Instead of traditional fake explosive devices in predictable locations, we create situations with multiple variables. False alarms mixed with real threats. Devices hidden in unexpected places. Terrorists behaving contrary to typical profiles. My father contributed his expertise, but he deliberately stayed in the background. "This is your show," he would say. "I'm just here as a resource." By the second week, Commander Patel began showing up at training, observing silently from the corner of the room. After a particularly intense session, she sought me out. "Interesting approach used, especially the think like the enemy exercise." "Thank you, Commander. The idea is that we cannot defend ourselves effectively if we do not understand the enemy's mindset." She nodded. "Hargrove's paying attention, you know? He won't admit it, but he's impressed with your progress." That's surprising. It shouldn't be. Hargrove may be stubborn and traditional, but he knows talent when he sees it. And he served with his father long enough to know that talent runs in the Matthews family. "I prefer to be judged by my own merit, not by the name I carry, and you will be." She smiled slightly. "Just be prepared for the final demonstration. Hargrove won't make it easy." The morning of the demonstration arrived with overcast skies and the promise of a storm, a perfect reflection of the tension I felt. My cadets seemed equally nervous as they prepared in the designated hangar for the exercise. "Remember your training," I instructed during the final. "Don't be distracted by the obvious. Look for patterns, communicate constantly, and trust your instincts. And above all, work as a unit." Chen adjusted his protective gear. "What if we fail, Commander? Then we will fail together, learn from it, and try again. But we will not fail." The scenario was a simulated port terminal with multiple areas, administrative offices, warehouses, loading docks, and passenger areas. Terrorists, played by experienced instructors, had hidden several fake devices throughout the complex, and the team had 90 minutes to find and neutralize each one. Hargrove arrived accompanied by an entourage of senior officers, including 2 admirals I hadn't expected. The pressure mounted exponentially. "Impressive audience," my father commented quietly beside me. "Your work has caught the attention of the upper echelons, or Hargrove wants to." "Secure witnesses to my failure," I replied, only half joking. "Trust your training. Trust your instincts." The exercise began promptly at 9 o'clock. I watched with pride as my cadets divided into coordinated teams, each with specific duties, maintaining constant communication. They quickly located the obvious devices: an abandoned suitcase in the passenger area, a suspicious package in an office. But, as trained, they didn't focus solely on these. Chun led the pattern analysis team, mapping each discovery and searching for connections. "Commander, I'm noticing something," she reported over the radio. "The devices found form a specific perimeter, as if they're surrounding something in the center of the complex. Follow your intuition." Aspirant. Chun's theory led the team to discover a much more sophisticated device hidden in the central control room, the actual target of the simulated attack, which would have caused the most damage if detonated. By the time the 90 minutes were up, my cadets had located all 12 planted devices for more than any previous team had managed in similar exercises. Hargrove watched the demonstration with an impassive expression, making occasional notes. When it was over, he approached me. "Impressive, Lieutenant Commander. Your team demonstrated excellent coordination and unconventional thinking." "Thank you, sir. They are exceptional cadets, without a doubt, but the credit for the training goes to you." He paused. "I have to admit, I was skeptical about your innovations, but the results speak for themselves. So, can we implement the full program?" "Not so fast." His face softened slightly. "We'll integrate elements of your training into the existing curriculum. It's a fair compromise, don't you think?" It was more than I expected to achieve at that stage. "That's an excellent start, sir." Later that day, as I shared a beer with my father to celebrate the success, my phone rang. It was Admiral Richardson, Chief of Naval Operations, who had watched the demonstration. "Lieutenant Commander Matthew, I would like to congratulate you on the impressive work I witnessed today." "Thank you, sir. It's an honor. We are forming a special task force to review all security protocols at naval installations around the world. After what I saw today, I would like you to lead the counter-terrorism component of this project." I felt the air leave my lungs. It was an unprecedented opportunity for someone of my rank. It would be an honor, Admiral. "Admiral, excellent. Your father must be proud." I glanced at him, who was watching curiously from across the room. "I hope so, sir." When I hung up, I told him the news. He raised the bottle in a toast to Lauren Matthews, who isn't just coming off the bench, She's redefining the entire game. The months that followed were transformative, not only for my career, but for the Navy's entire approach to counterterrorism security. The task force had the authority to review and revamp protocols at naval bases from Norfolk to Yokosuka, from San Diego to Rota. We traveled extensively, evaluating facilities, conducting training, and implementing new systems. My father often accompanied me as a consultant, but increasingly I noticed how our roles had reversed. Now he was the one seeking my guidance, my approval. On a particular evening in Bahrain, after a long day reviewing Fifth Fleet procedures, we found a small restaurant away from the areas frequented by American military personnel. The place was authentic, with low tables, floor cushions, and the unmistakable aroma of local spices. "Your mother would have loved this place," my father commented as we waited for our food. "She always sought out the less touristy restaurants. She said that was where you found the true soul of a place." I have few memories of her at home, I confessed. Most of my memories are of her in uniform, leaving or arriving from some mission. She regretted it, but she loved the service as much as she loved you. He took a sip of tea. "You know, I made the same mistake. I was so focused on building my career, on being the legendary Captain Matthew, that I missed out on much of your childhood, Dad." "You don't have to." "No, I do," he interrupted gently. "I spent years criticizing your career choices when I should have supported you wholeheartedly. I tried to mold you into my image instead of celebrating who you are." I reached across the table, touching his hand. "It's never too late to change." "No," he smiled, "it never is. And look at us now, a father-daughter team revamping Navy safety protocols. Who would have thought? I imagine young Captain Matthews would have a fit if he knew he would one day be following his daughter's orders." He laughed openly. Young Captain Matthews was an arrogant idiot who thought he knew everything. Old Captain Matthews is quite happy following the orders of a brilliant officer who, coincidentally, also happens to be his daughter. Back in the United States, we faced our greatest challenge yet. Intelligence indicated a potential threat to a major event at the Annapolis Naval Academy, the graduation ceremony, which would be attended by the President, several congressmen, and high-ranking military officials. Admiral Richardson placed me in charge of security for the event, a huge responsibility that did not go unnoticed by the senior officers, including some who made no secret of their resentment at my rapid rise. "Are you ready for this?" my father asked the night before as we reviewed the final plans in our temporary operation. "Honestly, I don't know. It's the biggest test of the new protocols yet, with the highest stakes possible. Then it's the perfect opportunity to prove your worth or to ruin my career if something goes wrong." He smiled. "That's the weight of command, Lauren. Big risks, big responsibilities, and big ulcers," I added, trying to ease the tension. On the day of the event, every element was meticulously planned. Sweeping teams using the new protocols had repeatedly checked the site. Sniffer dogs, metal detectors, thermal scanning. We used every tool available. We implemented the pattern analysis system, with dedicated teams constantly monitoring the big picture rather than just isolated incidents. Everything was going perfectly until 2 hours before the ceremony began, when one of the analysts noticed something worrying. "Commander Matthews, I'm seeing an unusual pattern in the security logs," the young lieutenant reported, pointing to his monitor. 3 different personnel have requested access to restricted areas in the last 24 hours. They normally wouldn't have reason to access. Show me the camera footage of these employees. The recordings revealed 3 different men, all using seemingly legitimate credentials, but something didn't seem right. "Check those credentials again," I ordered, "and I want the full access history of these 3 individuals." A quick investigation revealed that the credentials were perfect in every way, except that the actual employees were all off that day. "It's a sophisticated infiltration," I concluded. "They have cloned credentials and detailed knowledge of internal protocols." "How do we proceed, Commander?" asked my second-in-command. "No alarms yet. We don't want to scare them and precipitate action. We'll discreetly deploy tactical teams and track these 3 individuals. I want to know exactly where they are. And what they're doing, the suspect location revealed the plan. The target wasn't bombs, but a coordinated weapons attack. The three had strategically positioned themselves at perfect angles to hit the main stage during the ceremony. We need to neutralize them simultaneously, I instructed the tactical team. If one realizes the others have been captured, we could have a hostage situation or worse. The operation was executed with perfect military precision. At 1:45 p.m., exactly 15 minutes before the ceremony, the three suspects were captured without firing a single shot. The weapons found with them, disassembled sniper rifles, confirmed our suspicion. How did you know? Admiral Richardson asked later, when it was all over, and the ceremony had passed without most of those present even knowing of the danger that had been averted. It wasn't just me, sir. It was the system. The new protocols teach us to look for patterns, not just obvious threats. The old approach would have looked for suspicious packets or blatantly strange behavior. Our new method looks for subtle anomalies, like three people accessing areas they wouldn't normally access, even with seemingly valid credentials. Impressive, Matthew. You saved lives today. My team saved lives, sir. Modesty is admirable, but leadership deserves recognition. He paused meaningfully. I am recommending your promotion to commander. Sir, and before you protest that it's too early, let me remind you that exceptional results deserve exceptional progress. The news of the promotion officially arrived 3 weeks later. At 31, I would be one of the youngest women to reach the rank of commander in the history of the modern Navy. The ceremony would be held in Washington with all the appropriate pomp. The night before, my father and I had dinner at home, just the two of us. Nervous? He asked, pouring me a glass of wine. A little, mostly because of the speech. You face terrorists, Lauren. Speech is a piece of cake, I laughed. Terrorists don't judge me by my oratory skills. True. He raised his glass. To Commander Matthews. Not official yet. A matter of hours. He took a sip, then set the glass down deliberately. I have something for you. He left the room and returned with an antique wooden box, carefully polished. What is that? Abra. Inside, I found an antique brass naval binocular, visibly used but impeccably maintained. Engraved on the side were the initials, EM. It was your mother's, my father explained. She received it from her mentor when she was promoted to commander. She told me to keep it until you achieved the same rank. My throat tightened. Did she believe I would get there? She never doubted it. Not for a second. He smiled sadly. It was I who took too long to realize the obvious. I picked up the binoculars, feeling their solid weight in my hands. What did she say when she handed these to you? Which represented a commander's most important skill, to see beyond the horizon, to see what others can't. He paused. Lauren, you have that natural gift your mother had. The ability to see patterns, connections, to see the big picture when everyone else is focused on the details. Tears blurred my vision as I held that tangible piece of my mother. Thank you, Dad. There's one more thing. He hesitated. I've received an offer to teach at the Naval Academy, History of Modern Conflict and Counterterrorism Strategy. That's amazing! You'll accept, won't you? I was thinking of accepting, yes, he smiled. Old Captain Matthews passing on his knowledge to the next generation, including some lessons he learned from his daughter. They will be lucky to have you as a teacher, and I'll be lucky to be close to home. He placed his hand over mine. I'm proud of you, not just for what you've accomplished, but for who you've become. And I know your mother would be just as proud. The next day, standing before a room full of high-ranking officers and their families, I formally received my promotion. As Admiral Richardson pinned the new insignia to my uniform, I looked for my father in the audience. He was in the front row, back straight, chin high, eyes bright with excitement. At the microphone, I began my speech with the words I had rehearsed so many times. A few years ago, my father told me I was on the reserves bench. Today, I realized there never was a reserves bench, just different positions on the same battlefield. In the United States Navy, every role, every rank, every mission has its purpose and importance. I looked directly at him as I continued. I learned that leadership isn't about being on the front line shooting, but about seeing the entire, anticipating move, protecting not just with strength, but with intelligence and foresight. I learned that sometimes the most significant victory is the one no one realizes happened. the attack that was averted, the tragedy that never occurred. My eyes scanned the room. As commander, I promised to continue this work, expanding our ability to protect not just by reacting to threats, but by anticipating them. And I promised to never forget the most important lesson I've learned, that our true strength lies in adaptation, collaboration, and the courage to question even the most established methods when necessary. I ended up looking at my father again. I thank everyone who made this moment possible, especially those who challenged me to be better, to think differently, to never accept the bench when the field of play called me. When I returned to my seat to warm applause, I knew I had completed a journey that had begun that day at the train station. The journey of a daughter trying to prove her worth, of an officer finding her place, of a leader finding her voice. And even more importantly, I knew this journey was just the beginning. With my mother's binoculars in my office and my father's wisdom always within reach, I was ready to see beyond the horizon and lead others into uncharted waters. Because after all, as I learned over the years, the Matthews never sit on the bench. They just find new ways to change the game.